You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. I admire its purity. A survivor, and will clothe it by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathy.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my art channel. So, instead of the usual reviews I do, I thought I'd do something a little different this time. Kind of a, I'll say series retrospective instead of a traditional review. With Alien Earth right around the corner, I kinda got an itch to paint a Xenomorph and talk about one of my favorite franchises, Alien. And before I get into it, I just want to say thank you to those that either started following me or have just found my channel. It means a lot. Now, if you want to follow along with the art, I'm keeping this one super simple. And I mean super simple. There's no tricks, no digital resizing, no color picking, none of that. So if I fuck up, I fuck up. I'm just drawing on one layer. Yes, one layer. That's kind of a Photoshop sin if you're doing digital. You know, we tend to make 100,000 layers for literally every little thing. And I'm only using the burn and dodge tools. Burn for shading and dodge for highlights. Like I said, simple. I'm using a basic soft brush at 0% hardness and no more than 20% opacity. And I'm just kind of going for it and doing it grayscale, only worrying about values. Thinking of it kind of like drawing on paper with pencil or charcoal, only on a digital tablet and less messy. So yeah, for anyone that says you don't need traditional art skills to do digital art, well, here's proof that that's bullshit. Also, this took me about an hour and a half total to draw, but I sped it up for this video because no one wants to hear anyone ramble for an hour and a half. So enjoy the Xenomorph work in progress as I talk about one of my favorite movie franchises. Say favorite franchises, comic book, movie, video games. It covers a lot. So, my first Alien movie was actually the second one, Aliens, which was introduced to me by my Uncle Nick, since he was a huge sci-fi fan and a comic book collector. And as a side note, actually, he was Brian Wilson's guitar player. Yes, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, until he, well, my uncle, passed away a few years ago. Still miss him. Still think about you, Nick. Thanks for all the great memories. I saw Alien maybe a year or so later, and for the longest time, I thought that was the norm for sci-fi. I didn't know stuff like Star Wars and Star Trek was more mainstream. I honestly thought it was Alien. So those two movies really stuck with me, Alien and Aliens. And watching them growing up, I learned to appreciate both for what they were for different reasons. So Alien was this slow burn, creepy, haunted house movie in space with a terrifying creature born from a parasite that uses a human as a host to take out the crew one by one. And as far as horror and mystery goes, the premise was simple, but the entire concept of the creature was probably scarier than the creature itself. I was never really that scared of xenomorphs, or actually any movie monster for that matter growing up. I never really kind of got scared of, Cenobites from Hellraiser or Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. I just kind of thought, yeah, they're cool, It's not real. It's not going to actually come after me. But the concept of the alien, of this thing coming out of an egg, jumping on your face, shoving an embryo down into your chest and then popping out of you, that was scarier than the actual creature. Also, I would never get that close to something that looks like a giant egg on a spaceship that I know nothing about, let alone, try to examine it and put my face right in front of it. Great movie, but it's got some questionable, character decisions. Then we have Aliens. Probably one of my favorite movies of all time and arguably the best in the series. Yes, I said it, the best in the series. A lot of people will agree. And a lot of people don't agree. They think that Alien got ruined because it just turned into a mindless action movie for the second one. But let me explain. In Aliens, we return to LV-426, where the derelict ship in the first movie was found, only corporate greed and a secret military contract led to a colony getting exposed, and an eventual outbreak where Ripley, the lone survivor from Aliens, goes in as an advisor with a squad of Marines to assess the threat. Well, shit hits the fan, and what we get is one of the best sci-fi action movies with some of the most memorable characters ever put on film. Now, like I said, there are people out there that hate Aliens because to them it's just a mindless action movie that turned the Xenomorph into cannon fodder. But I'd argue that no, they still wipe out most of the Marines, and as a sequel, it built upon the lore of the first. My thing is, and I've always said that what makes a good sequel is you don't just rehash what's in the first movie, you acknowledge what's in the first and build upon it while adding something new without retconning or changing anything. Last Jedi. You don't, necessarily need to change anything, but just build upon it. So it's objectively a better movie, and it's better paced. Maybe it's just a sign of the times, or when it came out, or better technology, but I can watch Aliens over and over. It doesn't mean I don't like Alien, it just means Aliens is better. Which leads, here we go, to Alien 3. And guess what? People hated it because it wasn't Aliens. They wanted another action movie. Kind of like people that hated Aliens wanted another horror movie. Now, Alien 3 isn't a bad film. It went through production hell, but I think the final product turned out to be a beautiful and kind of misjudged movie. And honestly, it's probably the closest to a true horror movie of any of the Alien films. And the movie has plenty of action, and honestly, it's the darkest one of the franchise. There are issues, though, like the random egg in the ship that the Queen from Aliens apparently put there, but it's not a deal killer. I'm actually happy to see more people embrace it years later, especially now. There's kind of a new appreciation for it since the assembly cut's been out for a while. And even the haters, you guys need to admit, it has a beautiful score. Even on its own, the movie's music is fantastic. So no, Alien 3 is not a bad film. The next one, Alien Resurrection, however, is. Resurrection. Oh boy. For the longest time, I thought it was the end of the franchise. It was written by Joss Whedon, and I'm sorry, but his style of CW Buffy the Vampire Slayer humor felt completely out of place in an Alien movie. And this was the one where the Xenos felt less like aliens and more like generic movie monsters. Nothing about them was scary. Again, it was, kind of a fun film, but I really question why they went with the cheap, made-for-TV sci-fi approach. Alien is supposed to be dark, creepy, scary, Look at the past films. Look at what the franchise is, and all of a sudden you're going to make a, sci-fi movie channel, comedy? And for a while, I thought that was it for the franchise. Growing up, I collected the original run of Dark Horse Comics and figured since Alien was dead, well, movie-wise, that maybe it might get reignited with my favorite crossover as a kid, Alien vs. Predator. See, Aliens and Predators first crossed paths in Dark Horse Presents in 1989, a full year before we got the Xeno Skull Easter egg at the end of Predator 2. In fact, it was because I had the AVP comics and saw them acknowledge aliens and a Predator movie that I thought we'd get AVP before Resurrection. Nope. We didn't get AVP until 2004, and when we did, it was it was okay. I don't hate it like some of the fan base, but it wasn't what I was expecting. AVP Requiem, the sequel, could have been better, only it was way too fucking dark to see anything in that movie. I still liked the more violent tone and the Predator design. Honestly, Wolf in AVP Requiem is probably still one of my favorite, most badass Predators out of all the movies, honestly. The real issue is, why the fuck did they have AVP take place on Earth for both movies? It's simple. Give us aliens, give us Predators on another planet, throw in some colonial marines, and put them all in the meat grinder. I mean, hell, just adapt the plot from the AVP2 PC game. That's pretty much what fans want. Aliens, Predators, Space Marines. Stop with the modern day bullshit. So, by now, it was time to go back to the drawing board for the franchise. And what does any corporate board do when they want to revitalize something? Bring in the original director to breathe in new life. Ridley Scott, who directed the first Alien, but people often forget it was written by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett. People try to cite this as Ridley Scott's franchise, but that's not entirely true. He definitely had input in the creature and universe, well, the creature being designed by H.R. Giger, but he kickstarted it, although it was James Cameron that gave it depth with Aliens. In the second one, Cameron extrapolated the Xenomorph life cycle, showed us how they function as a hive mind, and it was David Fincher that introduced the idea in film that Xenomorphs take on the traits of their hosts, with the dog alien in Alien 3, or, if you watch the assembly cut, it's an ox. Now, there were hints and nods in the comics that aliens take on whatever creature they're a host from, and same with the toys. I got a gorilla alien, a mantis alien, there's a snake alien, but that stuff was a little too ridiculous to put on film. So, film-wise, in film canon, it's Alien 3 that established aliens take on the trait of their host. So, what did Ridley Scott do? He released Prometheus, a prequel to Alien that started off as its own thing originally, then was repurposed late in production to connect to only his Alien movie. Then he later came out with Alien Covenant, which was also a prequel to only his Alien movie. I hate Covenant with a passion. I know I've been pretty positive about most of the stuff I've been talking about with the franchise, but I'm not afraid to say I absolutely despise Covenant. Now, I know there's people out there that like it because they love the David and Walter characters, but really, they're the only good thing about Covenant. I'll give you that. The characters are awesome. The rest is a directionless mess. Worst of all, Scott tries to destroy decades of lore by trying to make us believe that David designed the Xenomorph based on the black goo from Prometheus. What the fuck? So, it's not an alien then. It should be called Experiment. However, in the novelization for Alien Covenant, David found an alien egg on the planet and used that as his blueprint to make his own version of the Xenomorph, which is what I've been trying to tell people. That David did not invent, create, or have any hand in starting the Xenomorph species. This is based on the original screenplay for Covenant, but because Ridley Scott hates aliens, and you can find interviews with this, he's gone on record saying that he hates the direction his franchise went in. Well, you mean Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett's franchise. And he never liked the idea of predators crossing over. So, we get David, the flute-playing robot, creating a xenomorph. Yeah, so much better than having a cross-species hunting them across the galaxy. Jesus fucking Christ. And I'm not going to go off anymore about Covenant, but the movie is so unevenly paced. Yeah, and then seeing the Xenomorph, the alien, run across an empty courtyard in broad daylight, just... It looked ridiculous. I'm sorry. It made me appreciate Resurrection more, and I hated Resurrection. Thankfully, Romulus, for better or worse, a lot of people hated Romulus too, and I get it for rehashing literal lines from the old movies and, you know, kind of copying things here and there. But Romulus did fix this bullshit lore-breaking plot hole by explaining that the black goo in Prometheus doesn't just make xenomorphs, but that it comes from xenomorphs. Thank you, Fede Alvarez. Or Fade Alvarez. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Also, did Scott forget his stupid end stinger at the end of Prometheus with that early Xeno concept? Oh, fuck, what was it called? The Deacon, yeah, the Deacon alien, whatever the hell it was. And that thing came from a giant squid hugger implanting an engineer, so obviously Xenos existed long before David made his own. Yeah, and we never saw that thing again. That's because Scott likes to flip-flop on his projects. He used to be a great director. Gladiator, Blade Runner, well, Alien... Blade Runner, for example. How many director's cuts are there of that? And why did we get a sequel to Gladiator? I know he didn't direct it, but he signed off to executive produce it. Ridley, you're getting old, man. Your best work's behind you. And if you don't believe me, go watch Raised by Wolves on HBO, which is pure Ridley Scott plot confusion. I love the show. Raised by Wolves is beautiful. It's got some great scenery, great cinematography. I actually like the first half of the plot in the first season because, it's, you know, you can follow it. Cool, awesome. And then all of a sudden, Robot gives birth to a giant eldritch space serpent. Yeah, what the fuck is actually going on? Really? What's actually going on? So, Alien Earth is out soon. I'm not going to do the whole fan theory bullshit like a lot of clickbaity YouTube channels, but I will say I hope they find a better focus for the series. The trailer does look cool, and I'm hoping it lives up to the Alien name. There's been a lot of talk lately about another crossover with Predator since we very clearly get to see several Weyland-Yutani logos, the company from Alien, in the Predator Badlands trailer. And we know it's coming. Both directors of Prey, which, marginally, it's okay. It's overrated. But he did Prey and Killer of Killers and Fede Alvarez from Romulus. They want to make an AVP movie or cross them together sometime. I just don't know if Alien Earth will acknowledge the crossover. And I honestly hope it does. Alien vs. Predator can be awesome if done right. Predator Killer of Killers showed the King Predator wearing a cape made of xenomorph tails, and with Badlands, it's getting closer to AVP happening again. So, I don't know. I have high hopes for Alien Earth. I have a feeling, though, they're just going to keep it alien-centric. They're not going to put any Predator stuff in it, but if they do, it would be kind of cool. If Predators are mixed in, I don't know, maybe they're the ones that attack the ship we see in the trailer. Maybe the 5 alien life forms on the ship are the things they were hunting. I don't know. Like I said, just something. Alien, even with its ups and downs, is still one of my favorite franchises. Except for Covenant. I have damn near all of the original Alien comics from Dark Horse. I love all the movies. Well, like I said, Covenant. Fuck that lore-breaking piece of shit. And I love almost all of the Alien games. AVP Arcade. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was a 4-player beat-em-up by Capcom. Alien 3 on the Super Nintendo was awesome. Alien Trilogy on PlayStation. I have Alien Resurrection also on PlayStation, which, funny enough, is actually better than the movie. AVP Gold and AVP 2 on PC. Alien Isolation, which, you know what? Fuck Ryan McCaffrey for his bullshit IGN score, which helped kill a chance at a sequel. That was criminal, really. Alien Isolation, just because you suck at a game doesn't mean you have to score it low. I digress. Aliens Fireteam Elite is pretty decent. It's not great, but decent. You know, I'd say only get it if you're an Aliens fan. Aliens Dark Descent is hard as hell, and I still haven't beaten it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to beat it, but it's a fun game. What else do I have? Oh, Aliens Colonial Marines. Shit, that's right, Colonial Marines. The game that Randy Pitchford laundered money from to fund fucking Borderlands. I forgot which Borderlands it was, but yeah. I remember getting Colonial Marines on the PS3 and thinking, this isn't so bad. And then the farther I got into it, I was like, okay, this is kind of bad. I recently, well, I'd say by recently, maybe a couple years ago, got it on a Steam sale with a bunch of mods and patches. And it's actually playable now. It's by no means a great game, but at least I can kind of wipe the bad taste of the original version out. God, so fucking sad. Hell, I even have a Alien Rogue Incursion for the PSVR 2. Yes, my wife got us a VR 2 last Christmas, and I've been playing Rogue Incursion, which is cool. It's great, but it kind of feels like half a game. I know there's a console version coming out for it soon, which you don't need VR to play, and I will say, only pick it up if you're an Aliens fan. In VR, it really does feel like an authentic Aliens experience. You're kind of this lone marine with an android partner stranded on this planet, you know, in this kind of Weyland-Yutani facility, compound that's been overrun with xenomorphs, and you kind of have to work your way around, almost like Resident Evil, I'll say. You unlock doors, go back to places you've been to before, unlock more doors. It's fun, it's cool, it's basically Aliens but Resident Evil. The only enemy types are xenomorphs and facehuggers. That's literally it, and then the final boss, and then the game just kind of ends. If you're okay with that, cool, I would get it, but it's not what I would call a total package experience. $30, I'd say, is fair. Anything above that, wait for a sale. So, yeah, with Alien Earth, I'm not going to shit all over anything new just because, it's new and I don't like change. Sequels are supposed to change things and add lore, and prequels are supposed to lead into what we expect by maybe showing us stuff that we didn't know before. I'm hoping Alien Earth does that. But not to the point where it retcons other parts of media and takes away the mystery. I'm staying positive that Alien Earth and future movies can live up to the name. Now, if something can surpass Aliens, I'll eat my words, because I still think Aliens is the best out of all of them. If you like what I do, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you disagree with me, please leave a comment and let me know. I don't mind hearing different opinions, and I could talk about Aliens for days. So if you're one of those people that absolutely loves Covenant for whatever reason, let me know. I still hate it, but at least I'll listen, and maybe, who knows, I might see it kind of from a different perspective, different point of view. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times, still don't like it. I can watch Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3, play all the games I got over and over. Anyway, I've gone way longer than I intended to. Hope you guys enjoyed the drawing. Oh yeah, I did add a quick color layer, a blue filter. Basically, actually, it's just a blue paint layer with the blue smoke layer I painted in and put the vivid light. So yeah, I did do some color. All right, so this drawing's 3 layers. Wow. Anyway, hit that like and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next one.